tonight, lawmakers are turning their attention toward Vermont's housing crisis. State House reporter Devin Bates joins us live in the studio now to explain why sweeping changes could be taking shape by the end of the month, actually. Devin?
That's right, Lauren. Between the amount of housing bills that have already been introduced and those well on their way, lawmakers in the Senate Economic Development Committee want to strike while the iron is hot and wrap all those ideas together in an omnibus bill. Housing experts say there's no time like the present. By the end of next year, the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board will have brought over 1,100 new apartments online across the state, almost half of them set aside for people experiencing homelessness. It's a steady pace, but Executive Director Gus Seelig said it's far from a victory lap.
Housing is being produced at a rate that is much faster than had been the case in the previous 7 years. We could double the rate of production for the next decade, and we're still not going to catch up.
As the Senate Economic Development Committee decides which issues should be tackled first in Vermont's housing crisis, state officials are making it clear that Act 250 reform remains at the top of their wish list. They believe if some of the red tape could just be cut from the permitting process, developers would have a fighting chance at keeping up with the skyrocketing demand for housing.
We need to be pro-housing growth, and we haven't been for decades. There's smart ways to do that, and we're getting at those by exempting areas from, whether it's Act 250, all those aspects are foundational to what we need to do and shift towards to modernize and keep up with our housing demand.
Meanwhile, housing experts outside of state government are calling for long overdue renovations to federal public housing. Christine Hart, executive director of the Brattleboro Housing Partnership, said it's not just that these units are old, they're also an inefficient use of the spaces they occupy.
We could easily double or triple the density on these sites and have new neighborhoods in or near the downtowns. As a state, we are now the recipients of significant federal dollars for housing, and I strongly advocate that some of these funds be directed to public housing.
Now, committee chair Senator Michael Sorokin said testimony from today will help shape what we could see in that omnibus bill. He'd like to introduce it as a committee bill, which would have to be done by January 31st. As that discussion was taking place, meanwhile, the House Education Committee got a better understanding of the anxiety and burnout that school nurses across Vermont are dealing with. Becca McRae, the president of the Vermont School Nurses Association, told lawmakers that the new guidance on testing and contact tracing we told you about on Tuesday hasn't done much to alleviate that stress. She said the new process is still a burden on school nurses, and it's not the relief they were hoping for. McRae is also lead nurse of the Burlington School District.
I personally have not had a day off since before Thanksgiving, including weekends. And I'm working 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. The new guidance that came out yesterday was a blow. It needed to say no more contact tracing, period, and that tests are available to everyone for the whole week, period.
McRae said on Monday she asked Education Secretary Dan French and Health Commissioner Dr. Mark Levine to switch to a 5-day testing method and completely cut out contact tracing. She's assuming that didn't happen because there isn't enough supply to test on that scale. Live in the studio tonight, Devin Bates, Local 44 News.